Yeah, well, we look at like right now. I'll use basketball as an example, and Trent Sisley and Jalen Harrelson. Indiana has very, very little presence of IU kids on their roster. Where you look at Purdue, and it's a majority of Indiana kids, and I know that they want the best players on their team possible. Period, no matter where they come from, but there's a mix, and it's just taking them. I think partly is because this 24 seasons does not have. It's not very strong in Indiana. Next year is pretty strong, and it won't be until the 25 class that Indiana really starts to recruit. I think get some Indiana guys on their roster if they're able to get Harrelson or Sisley and guys like that. But it's just something that Indiana fans want to see. They don't have to have a roster of them, but there is a mix, especially when you see an Indiana team that continues to have shooting problems. I see it. I get it all the time. People are like, "Why do we get it?" You know, it doesn't work that way, but it's part of it was timing, what was available, the spots that were needed, and this, that, and the other thing, and it just hasn't worked out for Indiana. But it's weird. It's weird not seeing more Indiana guys on this roster. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, Purdue is kind of that team now. And part of that is the continuity of Matt Painter being there forever. And it's he has a presence. I was at the Brownsburg or at the Santa Sneakers for Santa event Saturday at Brownsburg, and Painter's there the whole day, and IU had a game, so obviously that's it's just kind of the nature of the schedule. Purdue played Sunday, so. Painter was there the whole time, and, he's such a low key, people feel like they know him. I think he's been there so long and people like him, as far as I know. I mean, everyone I talk to, he's just a down to earth type of dude. And Woodson's like that. He's people like him too, but he just hasn't been there as long. So I think it takes a little time to establish that, but he, like I said, I mean, Painter's just, I think people in the state just know what his program's about. And he's been knocking them out of the park on recruiting. I mean, it's uncanny how well they find guys that fit what they do. And credit to him for finding them. Not only that, but bringing kids in who are okay with whatever role they have. That's another thing too. Is you can't just bring in guys who all think they're going to be the star player. So. It's a combination of things, and they're not always going to bat 1,000, and neither is IU. And I think I've told you this before, Jim. I think, if you're going to the Final Four with not any Indiana kids on your roster at IU, no one's going to say anything, But if it's once you lose, then that's when it's like, oh, why aren't we getting Kyle Guy and Trey Lyles and Gary Harris and all those, the guys that missed through the years? That's when it starts to become a problem. But if Mike Woodson's in the top 10 and that's not going to be an issue. But yeah, Purdue's kind of, you're never going to lock the borders and all that stuff. That's just not reality anymore. But I think IU people always want a little bit of in-state influence on that team. And Harrelson and Sisley, I think, are, they're probably next in line to potentially be those guys. Maybe Flory Badunga is out, in the 24 class, but that's that's a more of a national recruitment too. So, who knows, but yeah, I mean, like I said, if you're in the top 10, then it doesn't matter if your kids are all from California. People are going to be happy.